Alrighty, boys and girls, I'm back, and here we go with Module 6, Lesson 8 homework. So last night you needed to take a look at using an area model to represent 220 over 100. So we're trying to look at how many tenths is this. So if we look, there's 10 tenths that make up a whole, right? So this is 10 tenths and another 10 tenths, which is 20 tenths, and two more. So we're looking at 22 tenths. Well, if we look at 22 tenths, that's really like having two wholes and 2 tenths, which is the same as having 2 and 2 tenths. Alrighty? In the space below, they want us to explain. Ooh, this word explain. I know how much we all love doing that. So I would say I used the area model. That is an O. To first shade in the correct number of squares. So I know that this is 100 squares, that's 100 squares, and that would be 20 squares. If you would rather draw, you could literally go across these. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That should be 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep. So you see there are 100 in one little thing. So if I shaded in what I know to be the correct number of squares, then I looked at how many tenths that was. From there, I looked at the number of, whoops, that's kind of sloppy, sorry. Looked at the number of ones. So again, first, I'm shading in the number, and like I said, I know that if I needed to make hundreds, I could do it. I can draw these rows going across. There's 3 rows, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oops, I drew too many lines. So I get rid of, pretend that's my whole square. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Okay, so that's 220 squares. Again, we're pretending that, I drew this perfectly. And so we've got our 220 little parts. Then you can realize, oh wait, I can do groups of 10 of those little tiny hundredths to make tenths. And then you can go, wait, I have 2 full whole and 2 groups of 10. Down at the bottom, they want us to look at ones and how many tenths that makes. And they asked you to use discs. Now, I'm not a giant fan of discs, and especially when we're going backwards. It's one thing to, group them and move over. But going this way, we end up drawing a lot of things. So I drew it for the first one here. If you had 3 in the ones, each one of these can be broken down into 10 little tenths. So this really means I've got 10, 20, 30 tenths. They then want me to take my 3 ones and break it down all the way to hundredths. And I love you all dearly, but I am not drawing 300 little dots. So here's what I'd like to show you instead. I have 3 in the ones place. That means there's nothing here, nothing here. If I want to know tenths, I cover that up. I have 30 tenths. I want to know hundredths. I have 300 1/100ths. So for my answer thing, and sorry, I just dropped my pencil. So for my answer, I'm going to put 300 hundredths. Over here, if I have 2 in the ones and I have 3 in the tenths, I'm looking at 23 tenths. If I have 3 tenths and I have 3 hundredths, that means there's nobody here in the ones, right? Then I'm looking at 33 hundredths. It's the same thing that we did back when we had the larger numbers, and I showed you how we could do it. Same kind of concept, and I think it's a lot easier when you use the numbers than the discs. Over here, we have more decomposition. So 1 is how many tenths? Well, again, if you think of that place value chart, okay, and you think you've got your ones, and then you have your tenth and your hundredth, and remember there's a decimal here, okay? So envision that you have this chart, and 1 would be sitting here. If I'm going to the tenth, there's going to be a 0, so I know it makes 10 tenths. On this one, if I have 1 and 3 tenths, picture a 1 here and a 3 there. Oh, hey, that's 13. If I have 10, ooh, I could even go over farther with my place value chart, okay? And I could have a 10. I can kind of picture it. If you have a whiteboard, this is a great time for a whiteboard. So I've got a 10, 1, 0, and a 3. So if I want to know how many tenths it is, it's 103. Same thing over here. The 2, we're going to talk 20. Again, I want to go to tenths. I'm looking at 26. They want tenths. I look at that. I see 206. Okay. Down here, same thing, only now we're going to the hundredth spot. So, you know, thinking of that place value and how far over you're going. So 1 is going to actually be worth 100 because this is like 1.00, right? 1.3, if you're having a hard time visualizing, write the decimal out so it goes all the way to the hundredths. This is going to be 130 of them. If you're having a hard time, again, write the decimal out so you go to the hundredths place. You're going to need all those digits. Over here, again, writing the whole thing out. Oh, I need 200 of them. This, oh, 2.6, I'm going to put it to the hundredths. 260. This one, 20.6. Again, I want to go to the hundredths place, so 2060. It's a lot of small hundredths. Down here at the bottom, we are going to be completing the chart. They want to see it as a mixed number, so that's easy enough. 5 and 3 tenths. That should be the really easy part by now. They want to say, how many tenths is that? I think it's a lot easier to look at this number and say, oh, well, that's 53 tenths. If you prefer to write it as the fraction, it's 53 tenths, okay? Over here, they want us to be able to go to the hundredths with this number. Well, I know that I can go to the hundredths by multiplying both the top and bottom by 10. So it's 530 hundredths. Okay, don't forget the th. Here, you've got 9 and 7 tenths. So we're dealing with 97 tenths. I can write it as 97 tenths like this as well. Again, going over to hundredths, we're going to multiply by 10 there. And we've got 970 hundredths. And some of you are probably wondering, when in the world would I ever need this skill? If you're using metric measurements, that's where this skill comes into play. And remember, the rest of the world uses metric measurements. This is going to be 10 and 9 tenths. So we're dealing with 109 tenths. 109 tenths. Over here, we're going to be at 1,090 100ths. Quite the large fraction, isn't it? 1,090 hundredths. Over here, we've got 68 5/10. That's like having 685 tenths, like that. 685 with the word tenths. We have 6,850 100ths. So 6,850 hundredths. And there we go. Hopefully you guys are good with this. If you have questions, be sure to ask me in our meet.